Welcome to Soul Talk. This is Nancy Orland Weber, and I've got a guest, a very special guest for me, to you, from me to you. Reverend Sue Freeman. She is the founder of Blossoming into Light Ministry, established in 2017 alongside Reverend Leslie Trelaw. Sue's path began with a pivotal spiritual awakening in 1995. Goes back a ways. So do I. It sparked her interest in energy healing and led her to explore Reiki and other transformative practices. I've got some questions to ask her about that. As the founder and owner of the Art of the Heart, where I went shopping an awful lot and also was a guest speaker, etc., she had this huge following. This was 2009 to 2017. She brought her visionary leadership and creative passion to life. And yes, she did. With prior experience in the corporate sector working in human resources, no wonder, Sue blends her professional background with her intuitive gifts to connect deeply with those she serves. So welcome, Sue.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
I'm going to start right away because for those who don't know, I know Sue a long time. And I find she is multifaceted, so it's not surprising that corporate and human resources. However, I have a funny question for you. How did you get so techie that you can interpret and understand modern technology well?
Well, I wouldn't say always well, but what I do is in the corporate world, of course, when I first started, there were no computers or anything like that. And then later, as they added computers, I thought I was pretty savvy with it over the years using it. But of course, when my kids came along, they taught me a lot more than I knew before, right? Because
Oh, really? Yeah.
yeah, which was interesting.
Mhm.
But now today, like there's just so many new things out there, and I can't say I always have an easy time, but I persist. I don't give up. If one thing doesn't work, I try something else. If that doesn't work, I'll take a step back. All right, what am I
Sounds like
doing
life.
here?
Right.
Yeah,
Sounds just
um,
like life. So you're
right.
taking how you treat life into how you treat technology. And I know that you take a lot of classes too, not only give them, but take them. Is that
Right,
correct?
right, right. Yes, I love learning.
Always.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it. So tell
Never too old to learn.
nope, I agree. Just learned a whole bunch of stuff in the last couple of days and go, oh, breakthroughs. So you
Yes.
breakthroughs, you mentioned 1995. Why did you leave corporate and what made you what was the actual event that you made a decision to take a very unusual path at the time?
Okay. Well, one of the reasons I left corporate was because I had kids and I really wanted to spend more time and be closer to home. And so for a while, I worked from home, still sort of corporate, but not in a big corporation, doing recruiting for a company, that did recruiting for other companies. So, I did that for quite a lot of years. But then from there, I took a small job like in Chester, where I lived at the time, and but I wanted to spend more time with my kids. But when I was pregnant with my son, there used to be a little bookstore that I absolutely loved in Morristown, New Jersey. And it I was in that bookstore, and this book, I feel like it literally fell off the shelf into my hands. That's the way I feel about it. Like it was meant to happen. The Joy of Living, Sanaya Roman. Boy, was that an eye opener. Before that time, like, I blamed everybody for my issues. I just didn't think we had a choice in certain things. And when I read that book, that's what really spurred me to keep learning more and more of self-help, spirituality. It just opened up like a whole world I didn't even know existed.
Do you still read books?
Not as much, but I do. I It's funny because I don't find that I can read a book cover to cover always. I pull different books. I have a lot on Kindle. So, I'll like look at one book and I'll read like a chapter or a few pages or, just to gather some kind of insight or information. So it's not like a cover to cover thing anymore. It's more just, what do I feel drawn to in this book?
So, question, because I also do that, but um, when you have a book in your hand or in the Kindle, do you just open up anywhere or how does that work? And I'm saying that because I bet there are a lot of people like that. Like
Mhm.
when I read magazines, not books,
Right.
but when I'd read a magazine, not in today's world because it's all even the ads. I like them in the back of Writer's Digest, but
Yeah.
always used to read the back first to see if it continued a thread of interest for me.
Right.
One of the reasons I could do that. But in reading books, Kindle, I love Kindle. have had, I have too many actually, but uh, paperback in particular, I have my own way of doing that, kind of like shuffling oracle or tarot or any other kind of inspirational cards, angel cards or whatever. I
Right.
shuffle. This is the old gambler in me, maybe, but how do you decide where you're reading?
Well, a couple ways. If it's a physical book, a lot of times I'll just open it to whatever page because I feel like that's where I'm being guided to.
Okay, that's the key.
Yeah. On Kindle, I might look at like the table of contents, or I might just like flip through and then what pulls me in
Okay,
kind
so
of thing
that's
too.
something that I'd like people watching to consider. How do you know you're being guided?
Well, you develop trust,
Of,
right? Trust of your intuition, your inner self,
okay.
right?
And you said you didn't trust it for a long time, and then you did. So you read Joy of Living. Let's go on from there. So, what did you do after reading it?
Well, after reading it, I started like going to some metaphysical events and classes and things. Actually, I took a class of yours at County College in Morris. It wasn't for credit or anything, but you did all these energy things, and that even opened me up even more to explore those things. And it's interesting because I never felt I had gifts back then
Okay,
at all.
stop. I want everybody to hear that. We never called them gifts at the time when we were curious about what this is all about, right? Can you all relate
Right.
to that? I bet you can. There's a time. So let's say that everybody watching who questions theirs does the same thing we did at some point. Start with a new belief. We're at
Mhm.
the end of the year,
Right.
beginning of a new year while we're doing this filming, and just start with a new belief. Believe and trust and see what happens, right? So
Right.
so you did that. And
Right.
what occurred through that that really transformed the whole path where you went into a deeper dive and owned
Mhm.
it for yourself?
Well, there's been a few of those over the years. One would be taking psychic and spiritual development classes, with Trish, who's passed now.
You're speaking,
Also,
hold,
another part.
hold
Oh,
on. You're
okay.
speaking about Trish Woods,
Right.
who taught a lot of mediumship also, I think.
Right. That's
Right.
right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And was an excellent medium actually too. But yeah, sad that she passed. She was a good teacher too, but tough. She was, but that's what I needed at that time. Somebody, because she pushed me. She would always push me beyond, what I thought I could do. So that was one transformative thing. Over the years, I took like life coaching. So I went through a whole like 8 months to get certified as an empowerment coach, and that was very transformative for me. More recently, the Magdalene Rose Priestess training to become for 2 years, and that really, you dive deep into, inside yourself and look at things and understand, the workings of how you react to things, how you work through things. And it gave you a lot of techniques and tools. And it also, follows the year of the wheel. If anybody's heard of that, the year of the wheel. And so it's a whole earth-based.
Wait a minute. If they didn't hear about it, what is it?
What is it? The year of the wheel is, it's like a traditional, like old, very ancient, really, probably even before some of the holidays, and a lot of the holidays we have today actually originated from some of those. So like, you have, coming up pretty soon, you have the solstice, right? And at the solstice is also, one of those, and I'm trying to think of the name because now it's going right out of my head. Well, the one I know really well just passed, Samhain. Samhain is Halloween, right? So there's similarities to our traditional holidays that we grew up with, and these earth-based or year of the wheel holidays that are very sacred. They're considered very sacred, honoring the earth, honoring the communication with trees and flowers, and very earth-based. It's really a wonderful experience. So when I went through the training, we really connected to the energies that were available during that time for us to work on ourselves and go deep.
So is that part of what you, before you took all that, the interest, because I know you do house clearings,
Right. Yes.
and so that's part of it for you,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. And what else? And Reiki. Let's go back because that was in your bio. You're a Reiki practitioner.
Yes, a Reiki master teacher.
Reiki master teacher. So what else do you teach now?
What else do we teach?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So one of the things that we have some students with now is our energy healing practitioner certification program. And we have some ladies that are going through that, and they don't necessarily have to know Reiki necessarily, because there's all forms of energy work. And so we teach them all kinds of things, things about crystals, past life regression. We teach them sound healing. We teach them energy, all forms of energy healing.
Yeah.
So they get a lot. And the ladies that we have in our class now, they actually, it's 2 years for them because they're taking 3 levels. So we have different levels. So you could do 1 level, or you could do 2, or you could do all 3 levels. But they're really enjoying it. And we actually do it on Zoom. But we do come together since they're local. We come together like the last class of each level and practice and kind of have a social thing too, so we can spend time together.
So if it's not local, you would come together with them on Zoom. So
Right.
now, as we're coming near the conclusion, what would you tell the people watching right now if they are in the midst of their curiosity about metaphysics, but they're not sure where to go, what to do? How would you guide them right now in that pivotal moment so that they can kind of anchor themselves into something?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a technique you would help them with right now?
A technique?
Yeah.
Yeah, some deep breathing. Really, the breath is like amazing because, when we connect to our breath, we're able to center and go deeper within ourselves and really begin to connect. The outside world kind of won't affect us as much because we're more centered within ourselves in that peaceful state. And so some deep breathing could really, benefit them and is a simple thing they could do.
Could you be more specific about deep breathing? Like break it down for them right now if they were sitting there going,
Yeah, right. They don't
deep
know.
breathing.
Yeah, so it's a, very from the down in the belly, like bringing the breath all the way up, like, and then holding it for like not long, but just a little bit, and then kind of letting it all out. And the more you do that, and your stomach goes in and out like as you're doing it. So when you're breathing in, you're filling the belly, and then out. And it's sort of just allowing you to go into this peaceful state, more
Yeah.
centered, within yourself. And that's really important.
So I want people to consider what she's saying right now is something that some of us do, right? And so put your comments in the comments if you're one of those people who understand it. If you don't and have questions, put them in the comments. I'll look and I'll pass them on to her also. So one of the things I know I learned is very handy in today's world when you get to make a phone call and you find the menu to get to a real live rep for anything. I sit there and I deep breathe to the count of 6 in breath, 2 sec, count to 2 to hold, 6 out. And it helps because I'm less stressed. I'm simply less stressed. So yes, listen to Sue. It's true. If you don't do it, make it a point every time you are a little annoyed at something. You know that old adage, count to 3, right? Count to 3 breaths. How about that? Don't count to 3. Count to 3 breaths deep and see the difference throughout the day of, I am so annoyed, I'm so frustrated, I'm so whatever, and just deep breathe. So that's a great start for anyone who loves all this but doesn't trust themselves completely. I think the two are tied in, actually,
Oh,
what you
yeah.
say. So when they deep breathe, there's more trust of themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And if they wanted, you gave a great understanding that energy healing is vast, correct?
Right. Oh, yeah. It encompasses so many things.
Okay. So does any of it have a requirement of touching somebody, or can it all be done? Okay. So that's an open door.
That's a good
I
question.
do it all. I want your take on it because you've been doing it specifically. I just go with the flow of whatever comes up for me. Go for it.
Well, I'll give an example of a distance healing thing that I experienced when I was first in training myself to become an energy, beyond Reiki. I took energy healing training with a group down in North Carolina. And what I experienced, one of the other students that was a year ahead of me in the program, what she did was a distance healing on me. And I laid on a massage table in New Jersey. She's in North Carolina. And, we spoke right before and we would speak after. And I could hear drums in my head. And I could feel the energy moving through my body. And at the end, when we were talking, turns out she was doing rattles and drums and all kinds of shamanic kind of healing on me. So, and I felt it. I heard the drums. So anything's possible. All things are possible.
That is super. Thank you so much, Sue Freeman. So, folks, in the description, you will see the links to anything that she does. And Leslie and she have a beautiful website. I love it. It's gorgeous. It's worth looking at. If you like beauty, you'll love the website. And smarts, you'll love the website. So I hope you all enjoyed listening, and thank you, Sue Freeman, for joining.
No, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So have a great day, everybody, and deep breathe.